how did you discover Fertrell and then the poultry NutriBalancer?
So years ago,
Mm-hmm.
I was wanting some Rhode Island Reds. That was
Mm-hmm.
probably my grandfather's favorite bird,
Mm-hmm.
and I had sourced some local that were okay,
Mm-hmm.
and I had connected with Rip
Oh yeah.
online,
Yeah.
and we were talking back and forth, and he finally told me that I was probably 5 to 7 years if I fed them right and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, feed them right? What do you mean feed them right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I've been around chickens all my life. You feed them the stuff from the co-op out of the bag.
Mm-hmm.
And I started then learning about nutrition
Mm-hmm.
and what minerals would help what genetic traits and help bring them out.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, also looking at a bird eating a proper meal essentially versus what's in that bag from the co-op.
Mm-hmm.
And I was mixing the NutriBalancer in with feed,
Mm-hmm.
and that became a thing, and I started noticing a difference.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, well that stuff's expensive." I'm like, "Well, it is,
Mm-hmm.
but good things aren't cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Cheap things aren't always good."
Right.
And I've always been a math person,
Mm-hmm.
and I love numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started with chicks
Mm-hmm.
and what do they eat? What should they eat? This, that, and the other. And one day Jeff said, "Hey, why don't you do a feed trial?"
Mm-hmm.
I really do need to know the numbers
Mm-hmm.
because I'm one of those people. I don't know how much I spend on feed.
Mm-hmm.
I just feed them right,
Mm-hmm.
and you probably should. So I started calculating, and I did a feed trial. I bought feed from the feed store and fed Group A, and
Mm-hmm.
feed mixed the way he told me to do it, and fed Group B.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the ones with the poultry NutriBalancer and grains and stuff, those birds grew better,
Mm-hmm.
faster,
Mm-hmm.
more vigor,
Mm-hmm.
and they had the stance, the bone structure
Mm-hmm.
to hold the faster growth.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I showed him, I said, this is the difference. I don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
And, that led me to some pretty intense poultry nutrition studies
Mm-hmm.
and a ridiculous amount of reading and learning stuff to find out that just like a supermodel or an Olympic athlete,
Mm-hmm.
they watch what they eat, they
Mm-hmm.
eat a proper diet,
Yeah.
they eat less,
Mm-hmm.
they're healthier,
Mm-hmm.
and they're in better shape.
Right.
And once I thought about it like that, it really started making sense. And that's how I figured or came to the conclusion that, chickens don't need 4 ounces a day.
Mm-hmm.
If they're eating right,
Right.
you can feed them two and a half,
Mm-hmm.
and they still maintain their standard weight.
Mm-hmm.
They still throw off amazing, vigorous chicks,
Mm-hmm.
and everything's good.
Right.
And when you calculate those numbers out mathematically, that's how spending more up front actually saves you on your feed bill in the downrange. And since then I've kind of made it part of my passion to help other people see that,
Mm-hmm.
and why better quality feed is actually the answer to lowering your feed bill and throwing some grit in it. People will say, "Well, there's rocks on the ground." Well, yeah, but they're ugly. They're not shiny. Shiny grit they like, and they don't have teeth.
Yeah.
So how are they going to chew up the grains you're giving them or those rock solid pellets
Mm-hmm.
if they don't have anything to break it up?
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't think about that. And I get it because grit's an extra expense and this, that, and the other. And a lot of people are like, well, why am I buying rocks?
Yeah.
Well, it's because they need it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do.
So,
They do.
yeah.
I mean, especially if they are in a coop. But even if they
Oh,
are on
especially in a coop.
even if they are out on pasture or free ranging, the likelihood, unless you live on a quarry, in which case you're not grass feeding those things anyways,
Right.
the likelihood that they're gonna find enough of the right size grit on a consistent basis is
See, that's going to be a big thing is, Jeff and I were joking one time. We were talking about you've heard of Vermont Grit Company.
yes.
So we were talking about that. And even if you live in Vermont,
Mm-hmm.
the chances of what is in your chicken run being the size that they need,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you got rocks. Well, if they're huge, the chicken's not going to use it to break down the whole corn that you fed it.
Right.
And it's not going to get the nutrition out of it.
Right.
So,
Yeah. No, it's essential.
the poultry NutriBalancer it's totally changed everything for me.
Mm-hmm.
I have started about a year ago now making my own feed,
Yeah.
and I use grains,
Mm-hmm.
poultry NutriBalancer,
Mm-hmm.
and lysine.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
Yeah.
That stuff has everything in it that they need. I add a little bit of lysine because some of the grains that I use is a little low in it
Mm-hmm.
because we don't have farmers in the South that are smart with their dirt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the minerals come from. That's why you have to feed the dirt to get the crops to, that's it's a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm using grain from anywhere in the South or Southeast, I have to add the lysine. If I use the grain from up north, I usually don't.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's what actually got me into making feed.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day Jeff said, "Hey, you should sell it." I don't
Mm-hmm.
have time for that,
Mm-hmm.
but it's become a whole thing.
Yeah.
I think last month we moved a little over 10 tons
Mm-hmm.
that was not personal use.
Mm-hmm.
So people really do like it. And, it is not the most cost efficient feed out there on the market,
Mm-hmm.
but the results prove for themselves. It,
Right.
it works. Our feed is a coarse ground mash,
Mm-hmm.
and the bulk of it we mix with canola oil
Oh yeah.
just because it's more readily available.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that easily with 10 tons of feed.
Yeah. Yes.
Using lard or coconut oil, not so much.
Absolutely.
But it works. It holds it together.
Yeah.
And people, I've had people say when they follow the guidance that I give them for transitioning from a pellet to a coarse ration
Mm-hmm.
that's ground like that, you spread it out over a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Once the birds get used to that,
Yeah.
I've had people tell me that they ran out of feed and had to go to the feed store and they put it in their bird's trough and they're like, what do you want me to do with this?
No,
They don't want it.
I know.
Well,
I had the same thing happen to me, and they were determined they were not going to eat it. Like
mhm,
they hold off for 3 days. And I said, without feed. Okay, so it was. I ran out of the feed I used to feed. So I looked around, and the only organic, like commercially available ration, was a crumble
mhm.
by the major brand here, and so I got it. So it all looked white. I don't know what they put in there. So it was like a white pellet. So everything is kind of mixed together.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ran out of the others. So Trevor got me a bag of that and I put it in front of them and they looked at me like, you're joking, right? So like,
Right. Yeah. And I tell people, I'm like, I'm sorry, but I can't blame them,
yeah.
because one of the ways I look at chicken feed is, if you can't scoop some out of the bag,
Mm-hmm.
smell of it yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and think, okay, I would put that in a bowl with milk and eat it.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you expect your chickens to?
Yeah. Well, I mean, chickens will eat a lot of things. They'll drink from puddles and everything. There is
They
that.
will.
But it's true that, let's put it this way, maybe, is that if it looks and smells good enough that you would consider eating it, there is definitely a good chance that your chickens are going to prefer that over something
Right.
that you don't find attractive.
And that's
Yeah.
why it happens, but I don't blame them.
No, it's like with every animal. When you put in front of them what they are made to eat, instead of what is convenient to feed them, or what the feeding practice has evolved to want to feed them,
Mm-hmm.
they react. They know. Now, what is the number one comment that you hear, the number one positive feedback you hear from your customers once they switch to your ration version versus what they were used to feed? What's the number one change that they notice?
I've had several people tell me that I made a believer out of them,
You made what?
because I made a believer out of them.
Okay, yeah.
Because for a lot of people, the concept of essentially cutting your feed in half
Mm-hmm.
is very far fetched,
Right.
and they don't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
But bear in mind, 4 or 5 years ago, that was me.
Mm-hmm.
To give a bird 2.5 ounces was ridiculous to
Mm-hmm.
me,
Mm-hmm.
especially raising large fowl.
Right.
But, once you do those things and follow what I've learned,
Mm-hmm.
that's true. I've had birds, I had to cut them back because they felt fat.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually had a bird, before I started weighing the feed on most all of my birds.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it just fell over and it wasn't breathing or clucking anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff said, "You need to see what's going on inside of it."
Mm-hmm.
And he's a firm believer in the cropsies.
Right.
I'd never done that.
Mm-hmm.
But, and well, I don't really know what to look for.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "Well, I mean, just tell me what you see."
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like golden deposits of fat
Mm-hmm.
all over the bird.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "That's what morbidly obese looks like."
Mm-hmm.
And once I saw that, that really made me relook at how I looked at my own nutrition
Oh yeah.
and what I was eating.
Mm-hmm.
Because several years back, I had already been diagnosed with some health issues
Mm-hmm.
and needed to lose a lot of weight to get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd gotten to where it had kind of plateaued until I started looking at this.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've grown our own beef all my life.
Right.
And so it really got me to thinking about a lot of other things too, and
Mm-hmm.
how the health aspect would affect my life.
Right.
And I can honestly say that over the last 6 years,
Mm-hmm.
I have lost 100 pounds.
Wow.
And now the only medications that I'm taking are maintenance medicines, no blood pressure medicine, no cholesterol like none of that. Because, apparently when you lose 100 pounds, all that stuff goes away. But it was because of what I was eating. And then I hear Rip Stalvey say on a show, "You are what you eat eats." We've all heard "you are what you eat."
Right.
Like that's, I think my granddaddy told me that the first time I might have been probably not even able to talk. I've heard that all my life, but I've never heard the second eats on it. And when I think about that, that makes me want to feed my animals that much better because I do eat those eggs. And so, a lot of people, I tell them if they're in doubt or if they feel comfortable that I'm wrong, I always challenge them. Take your feed tag, go to Google, since, everybody knows Google is always right on everything.
Right.
Definitely sarcasm. I tell them to Google those ingredients. And, if you're happy with eating that, cool. Keep doing that. Your birds, you feed them how you want to. If you want to feed them grains, minerals, and amino acids, let me know. I didn't even know what some of those things were until I did it myself for the first time.
Right. Right.
And it really surprised me that they let you put that in chicken feed.
Oh, yeah.
Especially the commercial ones where they're grown for consumption.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's well, it's good. One customer at a time. It takes small steps, but it all makes a difference.
I try not to do sales pitches to people.
Yeah.
I just try to educate folks. And if you do want something better and it's something I got, great. If not, find it. Ultimately, I want you to take the best care of your birds you can. If it involves us doing business, great. If it doesn't, I'm okay with that too.
Right. Right.
Conversation that my son and I had a few years ago. Because, he's got 120 some odd acres right where his house is, and he raises Beefmaster cattle there and a few places over. We've got a few hundred head. But so a very common thing in the South for fertilizer is chicken manure out of commercial houses.
Right.
It works. I get it. He decided to do this, and his wife was not happy because, part of their pasture land where their cows graze is in the front yard and the backyard, the side yard. That smell came all in the house for a few weeks. And I told him, I said, son, there's a lot better way to do this. And, it's not going to be that cheap, but you do it once and then you're just in a maintenance standpoint. He's like, what are you talking about, Daddy? And I went over to his house and I got on the side by side. I went around and I grabbed some soil samples and I sent them to the lab. I got the results and, I sent them to Fertrell and I said, hey, these are the results. I took the sample just like you told me to, because, they want you to dig down just a little bit, not on the top, and get just a little bit from a lot of different places in the area so you have a good average sample on your soil. And I said, hey, this is what you need to put on it. This is what it's going to cost.
Mm-hmm.
and he about had a stroke. But the soil was so bad
Mm-hmm.
that he couldn't get grass to grow in some spots.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the soil was like a tan color. Like,
Yeah.
son, that's not how it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that just can't be right. There's no way.
Mm-hmm.
That's ridiculous. I said, well, buddy, you can't keep grass growing past September.
Mm-hmm.
Up north, they have pretty thick fields year round,
Mm-hmm.
under the snow and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty sure they know about soil health.
Mm-hmm.
And he protested, and I said, well, I love your wife and I love my grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
So for peace in your home, what
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do is I'm going to pay for the 5 acres right around your house.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll get you the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You put it on.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this past winter, he
Mm-hmm.
had green grass in his front yard
Mm-hmm.
all year. Like, I think he said in end of January, 1st of February, he had some that started to turn brown,
Mm-hmm.
but that's because it didn't rain.
Mm-hmm.
And so then, his wife said, we're not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want my yard smelling like a chicken pen
Mm-hmm.
ever again.
Mm-hmm.
So we've kind of done more. We're going to do some more this coming fall
Mm-hmm.
to get it better. But getting my own child to see a method of farming that does not involve buying tons and tons, literally, of hay.
Mm-hmm.
That he's like, there's no way.
Mm-hmm.
But regenerative farmers do it every day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, there is a lot of misconceptions out there as to what's
mhm.
possible, what isn't, and how you get to it. It's been so long that people have even forgotten that it's possible. Yeah.
And for some, their dirt has gotten so far behind that it may seem that way, but every year Fertrell does soil samples,
Yes.
and they run a special on them, and
Mm-hmm.
you send it to their lab, and they'll tell you what you need.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Totally.
And here we have a lot of local ag extensions
Mm-hmm.
that claim to offer, they offer the same service.
Yeah.
And I had another customer that I told him, I said, well, why don't you do both? I'm going to cover the cost of the soil sample. So what does it hurt? And, he did the ag extensions method
Mm-hmm.
on one tract of land.
Right.
He followed mine for the other.
Yeah.
And he said, these people went to college for it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe this. I said, hey, you don't have to go to college for agriculture. This stuff's been this way forever,
Mm-hmm.
before they made those books that them people study in college.
Yes.
So he's like, he says, I can't believe it. I said, well, when I send you stuff, it's coming from people that live it and do it,
Mm-hmm.
not from somebody that saw it in a classroom.
Right.
And oh, by the way, it's organic, all natural. If one of your animals eats the stuff, it's not going to hurt it. And that's a huge thing for people these days.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. So who would you say who would you consider a mentor in the poultry world?
It depends on what aspect. because I have been fortunate enough to surround myself with some of the best friends in the poultry world.
Mm-hmm.
And, I would say Jeff from Fertrell is probably the biggest person that I have learned so much about nutrition from.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned a lot about genetics and hows and whys on large fowl from Rip Stalvey.
Mm-hmm.
He he's a really modest person and he doesn't like to talk about himself, but that man has probably forgot more about poultry than a lot of people will know.
Yeah. Yes.
He's a huge source and he loves telling people about it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people that raise poultry, they don't want to give their secrets away,
Mm-hmm.
but he loves teaching people. So I would say for that, him and the co-host of the Poultry Nerds podcast, Jennifer Bryant from Bryant's Roost,
Mm-hmm.
she has taught me a lot about quail and quail genetics
Mm-hmm.
and turkeys.
Mm-hmm.
The whole reason I got into quail is because I wanted to try things with chickens,
Yeah.
and they're poultry the same,
Mm-hmm.
but quail mature in 8 weeks, chickens mature in 6 months. So
Right. You
I was
see.
able to try stuff like feed
Mm-hmm.
rations and things like that
Mm-hmm.
on the quail and see results a whole lot better.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it's a lot faster.
mhm.
It's a lot faster. That's what I found to be interesting too. Yeah. So what has been your number one challenge in raising poultry and how did you solve it, if you did solve it?
My number one challenge once I was able to get quality birds
Mm-hmm.
is seeing their genetic potential.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do that with store-bought feed. To
Right.
tap into those genetic potential, you're going to have to feed them the feed that their genetics want. And once I learned that, searching for that was a huge challenge. And then, making it has become a whole income stream for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that was my biggest challenge is feeding them
Mm-hmm.
because you're in the feed business. People say, "Oh, I want to feed my birds the best. What's the best?"
Right.
And then they look at the price tag and like, "Do you have anything cheaper?"
Yes.
Well, I thought 30 seconds ago we were having a conversation about wanting the best.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a challenge too to find a happy medium, but I I don't sacrifice the quality. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to.
Mm-hmm.
I I make feeds that are non-GMO.
Mm-hmm.
If you want no corn or no corn, no soy, I can do that too. But as far as messing with the integrity of the feed to come up with a better price, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's probably been my biggest challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And now in the wintertime, people want to give their birds all kinds of antibiotics and things like that because they get sick when the weather changes and this, that, and the other. Mine don't.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'm not giving mine antibiotic. You might get some garlic or some oregano, but
Mm-hmm.
short of that, I breed for hybrid vigor,
Mm-hmm.
and the easiest way to bring that part of the genetic pool out is for them to have a properly balanced diet.
Yeah. Breeding determines what an animal can do. Feeding and management determine what an animal will do.
Yep. And that is so true. And
Yeah.
I did put that on a banner, and I've had people every once in a while. I have people say, "What do you mean by that?"
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, I really like it when I get that question at a chicken show say,
Yeah.
well, you're the breeder,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what you can put with what to get what, and how those genetics work.
Mm-hmm.
But the nutrition has to be there in order for them to pop.
Yeah.
So, and then I'll say, you breed them and let me feed them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, but it's true. If you even for humans, you can have the best genetics if you're undernourished or you feed yourself junk food. You can have all the
It's not going to work.
it's just not going to work. You're going to get sick. You're going to die sooner than what you should. It's just common sense. It's just that Jeff put it in a way that's very simple.
A lot of times people tend to want to make things more complex than they really are.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, again, that was me years ago. And one day he's like, no, it is this simple,
Mm-hmm.
and he's taught me so much about poultry nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've been to Pennsylvania a few times and visited and sat with him and sat in his office and learned a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a thing, and
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind staying at my warehouse late at night,
Mm-hmm.
separating out a feed order to go run a route truck the next day that will have me out about 10 hours,
Mm-hmm.
because I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoy the people that I've met along the way.
Yeah, I see the same.
I love to help people.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
And when I'm working with somebody with their birds and it just kind of clicks,
Mm-hmm.
it's huge for me. I love it. See, before I had started doing that, I had issues with poor hatch rates,
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of stuff. And when
Yes.
I started feeding them better,
Yeah.
um, first time that year, I loaded up the incubator.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. At least half of them hatch, maybe. I'm
Mm-hmm.
lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Like 90% hatched. I found myself scrambling for brooders.
Yeah.
That was not fun,
Mm-hmm.
but it was really eye opening.
Yeah. Yes.
And people say, "Well, when do you need to start feeding them this?" I'm like, "Well, I mean, long about the time they hatch,
Mm-hmm.
and don't stop."
Mm-hmm.
And some people say, "Well, I mean, it's going to raise my feed bill."
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
but when you're selling chickens and your hatch rate goes from 50 to 90%,
Right.
and your hatchability from a
Mm-hmm.
viable egg goes from extremely low to 70s or 80s, because I've had people that breed birds that have a really high melanin content.
Mm-hmm.
They're high fiber birds, and they need more minerals than your average bird
Right.
to have that hatchability.
Mm-hmm.
And I met the breeder, and she and I had a discussion because she was really looking for somebody to help her with her hatchability.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the feed companies, if you're not going to buy 5 tons or 3 tons, they don't have time for that.
Right.
Well, I was young and eager, so I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a lot of research. And well, I really think that the feed that I have, because when the Show Pro series of feeds was made,
Mm-hmm.
I told Jeff, he's like, well, my question, what's your goals?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the key to everything. And I said, I want you to make a really good, solid, all around feed
Mm-hmm.
that I can feed to any bird in my yard.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly don't care about the cost.
Mm-hmm.
I want it to meet their nutritional needs even exceed them. I'm
Mm-hmm.
good with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I look at the numbers of some of the things in that versus what those birds needed,
Mm-hmm.
it was there.
Mm-hmm.
I said, this might be a hard pill for you to swallow, but I would like for you to change one of your breeding pens over to mine feed to run
Mm-hmm.
a test.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can eliminate your problem.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, that's far fetched. And I said, humor me.
Mm-hmm.
The person was a friend of mine, so they humored me.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, let's feed them my way for 45 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want you to collect eggs for a week
Mm-hmm.
out of that pen.
Right.
The pen that you're not feeding, that you're going to keep feeding what you've been feeding and doing what you've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to collect those,
Mm-hmm.
mark them accordingly, hatch them out, and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I almost think she was trying to prove me wrong
Mm-hmm.
because she collected a ridiculous amount of eggs
Right.
and was shocked at
Mm-hmm.
how many chicks she had when they
Mm-hmm.
hatched out. So, that's another testament, if you will, of having those extra minerals and amino acids. If you've got birds that you just think genetically they have low hatch rate, even with fertile eggs,
Mm-hmm.
it could be anything from a magnesium, selenium, or a couple of other minerals deficiency because that type of bird needs 10% more or
Right.
20 in some cases.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Iam samanis,
Mm-hmm.
those birds with their dark pigmentation
Right.
have an extremely high nutritional requirement.
Mm-hmm.
Not protein.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody says, oh, it's protein.
Mm-hmm.
But protein don't have jack to do with any of this.
Mm-hmm.
It's the vitamins and the minerals that make it all work.
Right.
And she's having amazing hatch rates now.
Mm-hmm.
And I feed every chicken, every piece of poultry she has.
Mm-hmm.
I was feeding the horse, but they got rid of the horse because they needed room to expand their poultry business
Mm-hmm.
because it's taken off that well now because of, her being able to hatch more and do more.
Mm-hmm. What made you want to have your own podcast? Now, I think that you have maybe even several.
So I do have the Poultry Nerds podcast. I also work with Rip and Jeff on Poultry Keepers 360.
Yeah.
That live show, and I'm on a live show that starts in just a few minutes.
Yes.
But for me, I love educating people and I
Mm-hmm.
love helping people.
Yeah.
And there's so much misinformation out there in the world
Yeah.
that it's a thing. And like the Poultry Nerds podcast, Jennifer, my friend, and I, we got together, and for us it was a good excuse to get together and talk about chickens.
Right.
It just seemed like a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then it got to where it was more, and I mean, we're at over 50,000 downloads now, and it's taken off.
Yeah.
It's not something that we never expected this
Mm-hmm.
to come, but we come up with topics and we talk about them,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be genetic related, nutrition related, general management related,
Mm-hmm.
and, different kinds of poultry and whatnot. We talk about it.
Yeah.
And I've learned several things doing it as well, which has been good because some of the topics that we discussed, we have to do a lot of research to do that.
Right.
And so we learn.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of stuff too, we share our experiences, and there's people that have went into poultry because of listening to the podcast, and people that they were glad they heard it because we were honest and shared some of the nightmare sides of it that they weren't willing to stomach, and saved them from diving head deep into it. So
yeah,
but
no,
it's a passion for me. I like the animals.
Yeah.
And they argue less than my kids.
Pardon? They argue.
They argue less than my kids.
Right.